Hey guys, it's Daniel or DanJ, and today I'm going to be talking about how I'm currently studying. Now, the day I'm filming this is actually the day of my AMK examination, which is just a single best answer examination. And yeah, it was earlier today. I thought it went well. Hopefully in 3 weeks time I'll know the result and I'll let you know down below. So leave a comment if you want an update. But basically these days, all I'm revising for is that exam, which hopefully I'll only have to sit one more of them in January, and also the SJT and the PSA, which I need to sit in 5th year of medicine in order to become a doctor, or at least a prescribing one. So I think we can split studying into 4 domains, which are focus, learning, testing, and active recall / space repetition. So number 1, focus. So usually I get into a space of focus with studying by picking a good location. So I really like going to the library on campus nowadays. I've actually changed my ways and I'm a library man, mainly because the chair that I'm currently sitting on isn't that comfortable for long sitting. So when you're revising and you just sat in one position, I don't really like the comfortability. I guess I could buy a cushion, but I guess the vibes of being at the library as well, surrounded by other people who are just working, is all good. I also like to listen to music, depending on the day, depends on what sort of genre or type of music. Some days I'll listen to music without lyrics, some days I'll listen to music without. But obviously for some people, music can be distracting. So lyrics, they might find the lyrics are messing with their brain processing. Me personally, sometimes I just be rapping whilst I'm doing the questions and it gives me a bit of a flow. So when I'm getting into that energy mind state, I find that really useful for me. But make sure you find what's useful for you when it comes to listening to music. As well as that, I make sure that my phone is on a special mode, which is just the work mode, which is just a setting on my phone that I can use. I know some people use that one app that you can grow trees on to track the time that they study or make sure that their notifications are off, that sort of thing. Sometimes I'm also filming when I study, so that keeps me from going on my phone as well, and you don't really get notifications that way. So then number 2, we get into learning. So I'm quite a way through my degree. This is 5th year. So a lot of the conditions that are going to come up in my exams, I've heard of at least once. So I've probably made notes on them or made flashcards on them. So learning isn't really the most forefront thing. But when it comes to new learning, I usually use things like YouTube or textbooks, and that is all based off of my testing. So I test myself using 2 different question banks, Past Medicine and Past Test. I don't discriminate. If one of them wants to sponsor me, then I'll stay on that one for life. But right now I use Past Medicine mostly for its single best answer questions for the AMK, because I find that these link to my exam the best. But I've also in the past used Past Test question bank, which has some good questions which expand on the knowledge, and they're not quite as surface as the ones on Past Medicine. On Past Med, I also use the knowledge tutor function, which is basically like these Anki style flashcards, which I just literally go through, and when I get them wrong, I just move on. Like, I don't really stick around to read it too much unless it's something that I've got wrong on a repeated basis. But essentially, when I first started using Past Medicine, I basically did 10 minutes of that a day, and I'd get through like coming to 100 odd of them in that 10-minute time, and that just built up my fact recall for like questions. And then when I move on to the question bank side of the medicine finals deck on there, then I could kind of pick up those patterns that I'd already seen on Knowledge Tutor. And also Past Medicine has some good questions for the SJT and PSA. They have the ranking questions and the multiple choice questions, which are good, and they show a wide range, and they built my foundation of the SJT. So more specifically on Past Test, recently I've been using it for SJT questions, because there's a new type of SJT question, which is a rating question where you rate things from very important to not at all important, or very appropriate to inappropriate. And essentially there's hardly any of them out there. Even the UK foundation program themselves have given away like, I don't know, 6 of those questions in total. So doing them on Past Test is very life-saving, and it gets me used to that sort of thing. So I guess I'll have to see when I do my SJT in December whether it worked. So then on to active recall and spaced repetition. I guess you could say that the knowledge shooter on past medicine is a bit of active recall and spaced repetition. I'm not really sure how the algorithm works there. I think it works better when you first start, and I found that when you first started, it gave you some good stats and it was well spaced. It could tell you when you had last seen a thing. But now that I've got to the end of the deck and I've seen every single one, and I've got a kind of good recall of every single one, it kind of glitches and doesn't work properly. So it's more random when I see them. Even the stats of how many times I've seen it versus how many times I've got it right, it glitches as well, so I'm not sure with that. So obviously I go for the more reliable option of Anki. Now I spoke about Anki in multiple videos, but essentially I just built my flashcards from the ground up. So I do questions on past med or past tests, and when I got them wrong, I'd read through them a little bit, and then I just make Anki cards out of it, of the main points that I needed to know for those conditions. And of course, Anki has its own algorithm for spaced repetition. So depending on how well you think you know a flashcard means the time it will take for you to next see that flashcard. And I set my maximum time to 5.5 months. So I know that I will see every single card at least once every 5.5 months. And then I can check then whether I still know the fact, or I can reset it and then just get to learning again, maybe refresh my knowledge on that subject. I also downloaded the Anking decks, which I used slightly, and I didn't really like them too much, but I did sort of go through it in a non-systematic way where I just unsuspended all of them and I did like 100 a day, and they weren't really linked too much to my course. And also with Anking, you kind of have to check the recommendations and the guidelines that it says in its managements, that sort of thing, because it is made for American students, not UK students. At the time when I did a question that was relevant to the Anking deck, then I would unsuspend it, which is a great systematic way of using Anking. And adding to that, with more added decks, I also downloaded a couple of anatomy decks because I realized that my anatomy was lacking, and they really did help me. I literally finished all those decks, and now they're just in rotation for whenever they come up according to the algorithm. And Anki isn't just good for medicine, I use it for languages as well. I literally put in words or phrases that I think are useful, and then of course they come up, they test me, and I can apply them in my brain and learn. So thank you for watching this video. If you did enjoy it, please leave a thumbs up. Let me know how you're learning in the comment section down below. And if there's any more you want to know about my learning styles, just leave a comment below and I'll be sure to get back to you. And if you're new around here, hit subscribe and turn on the notifications, and I'll talk to you in the next video.